To de-seed or not to de-seed? No, de-seed. You have to de-seed. Oh hey, my name is Nadia and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This week my mom went to the grocery store and found a bunch of eggplant on sale, so naturally she bought all of it. She made ayvar, she made baba ganoush, and now I'm gonna try making her famous eggplant moussaka. This is by no means an authentic Greek moussaka, but more so her take on it, and if I do say so myself, it's pretty good. So with some of her help and a little bit of my own technique, I'm gonna try putting this dish together and we're gonna see how it goes. So on that note, let's get cooking. First things first, we have to prepare the eggplant. Once it's washed and dried, peel some of the skin off and then cut each eggplant into about 6 or so even slices. There's probably a safer way to do this, but I live on the edge. I placed the slices straight into the pan that I would be using so that I could measure out to see how many would fit and ultimately how many eggplants I would need to cut. I ended up using about 3 eggplants. This is a bigger than average glass dish. It's 14 by 10 by 2, so of course, depending on what pan you're using, you might have to adjust this a little bit. I was able to fit 6 slices of eggplant in 1 layer, and we decided that we were gonna do 3 layers, so that's 18 slices of eggplant. Yes, okay, I had to double check my math, but it was 18. I salted each side of each eggplant slice and then set it to the side. Moussaka is a layered dish, kind of like a lasagna. So we have our first layer, which is the eggplant, and now we get to work on the second layer, which is the meat sauce. If you have a meat sauce recipe that you swear by and love, by all means go ahead and use it, but if not, you can use my mom's, which, if I do say so myself, is pretty good. In a big pan over medium heat, add a generous amount of oil and diced onions. When the onions cook down a bit, add the bay leaves, oregano, minced garlic, and salt. Let that cook down a little bit more and then add the meat. We use 2 pounds of ground beef, but of course you can switch this up if you wanted to use 1 pound of beef, 1 pound of lamb, or any other combo that you like. Cook that through and add the tomatoes. We use Roma tomatoes because they have a little bit more tomato meat to them and a little less juice. You're going to have to peel, de-seed, and dice the tomatoes, which sounds like a daunting task, but I promise you it's not that hard. Okay, well if I'm being honest, my mom did this part, so I don't actually know how hard it is. But it looked easy. She cut a little X at the top of each tomato and added them to a pot of simmering water. And you can see they almost are peeling right away by themselves. Then you're gonna strain them, rinse them with cold water, and peel off the skin by hand. To de-seed them, you're gonna cut each tomato in half lengthwise and then use a spoon to just scoop out the juicy insides. Then just dice them up and add them to the pan. And of course, it wouldn't be my mom's dish if we didn't add a very healthy pinch of chopped parsley. And after that, you can add a little bit of wine. Mix that all together, turn the heat off, and then when you know the meat is completely cooked, you can give it a taste and season it to your liking. To flavor it up, we added a little bit of Vegeta, which is a dehydrated vegetable seasoning, and no, it's perfect.
No pepper?
It's perfect.
I think it's perfect, I don't know.
Set that to the side and let's take it back to the eggplant. We salted the eggplant to get rid of any extra water, and let me tell you, there is a lot of it. Getting rid of this excess water helps reduce the bitter taste that eggplants sometimes have, and it also makes it creamier and richer in flavor. Make sure to really pat the eggplant slices dry. When you're done, make sure to wipe down your pan because we're going to be using that later. And now we can move on to the breading process. And let me tell you, it is a process. The easiest way to bread anything is to set up a little bit of an assembly line, or in my case, a little bit of an assembly circle. As you can see here, I have the dried eggplants, the flour, the beaten egg mixture that I added a splash of milk to, and then a little bit of salt and pepper, panko crumbs mixed with Italian breadcrumbs, and an oiled pan where the finished pieces will go.
What did I put you?
Always keep one hand clean.
So you're right-handed? So do this with the left and then with
Why
the right.
can't I just do it all with the same one?
Because you're going to wet your hand, you're going to collect all the
So this hand will be for the flour and this hand will be for the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, so flour
So I'm
and
gonna
egg.
work
So
like
if you want to
this.
film a little bit, and
To summarize, I used one hand to coat the eggplant in the flour mixture and then put it in the egg mixture. And then I used the other hand to take the eggplant out of the egg mixture into the breadcrumbs where I patted them nicely into the eggplant slice and placed it on the oiled tray. And of course, in this kitchen, in my mother's kitchen, there is always a way to make things more efficient.
here, listen. For the flour, do like a few and then pile them up, and then
Okay.
pile them up on that side.
Be more efficient is what you're saying. This is the pretty simple process, but I do have a note for you guys. It's really hard to reuse these ingredients because you're going to get the flour dirty from the eggplant and then you're gonna get egg into the breadcrumbs. So start small with your ingredients. Like I always say, it's easier to add than to take away. So start with a little bit of flour and a few breadcrumbs and then add as you go so that way you don't waste as much and everybody's happy at the end of the day. When the tray is full, drizzle some olive oil on top and then throw them in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes on each side. And when they're done, they're gonna have a really nice golden brown color to them. If you prefer, you can fry the pieces, but honestly, frying is a hassle. Eggplant absorbs a lot of oil. Oil makes a mess and you always have so much left over. So honestly, if you can bake, it's just gonna save you a lot of headaches. Now that we have all our ingredients ready, we can finally assemble the moussaka. Oil the bottom of your pan and spread a tablespoon or so of the meat sauce on the bottom. Arrange a layer of the eggplant, spread the meat sauce on top, and then add some grated cheese and repeat. I did my best to divide the meat sauce up into 3 even parts, but you can see at the end I'm missing a little bit for the top layer, but not to worry because I covered it with the bechamel sauce, which is just butter, flour, and milk mixed together over heat until it thickens up really nicely. Excuse the mess on the pot, I spilled a little bit of sauce and it burned, sorry. Then just clean up the edges, and it was at this point that my mom and I realized 2 layers were probably a better idea than 3. The pan was overflowing, there was a whole lot of moussaka in there, so I placed a baking sheet under the pan just to catch anything that might fall off, and that way you don't make a mess in your oven either, so it's all great. That went in the oven at 350 degrees for about 40 to 50 minutes. It's gonna depend on the oven, but you really wanna make sure everything's baked, but you just kinda wanna make sure it's all baked, if you get what I mean. It looks so tasty, and yes, a very tiny little thin layer on top did burn because we literally didn't have the capacity to cover it with tin foil, which again is probably why 2 layers were a better idea. It would have given it a little bit more protection, but nonetheless, it still looks delicious. I have a massive piece right here and I'm so excited to dig in. It is a little dry, I'm not gonna lie, and my mom and I think that's because of the meat sauce. Right before I assembled the moussaka, my mom and I realized that the meat sauce looked a little bit dry, so we tried to add some tomato sauce to make it a little runnier, easier to spread, kind of moisten the whole thing up, but it didn't really work, and it happens. If we could go back in time, we would probably use a less lean meat, something with a little more fat in it, and canned tomatoes because they always tend to have a little bit of extra juice just to soften everything up. And then, honestly, this moussaka would be perfect. It has amazing layers. I get goosebumps a lot when I eat really good food, as you guys have probably learned. But nonetheless, I have goosebumps for this meal. It's delicious. It's my mom's classic, and it's been super gloomy these last few days, so having this like warm, hearty meal is just, it's what you need. It's the best. That's all from me this week, guys. I want to say a big thank you to my mom for sharing this recipe with me and helping me make it in the kitchen. I truly appreciate that. And if you guys like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next Friday. Bye. So good. I rarely eat moussaka or lasagna or anything like this in this way. I like to put it in a bowl, cut it up into really small pieces, and then eat it that way. Does my family think I'm crazy? Probably. Does it taste delicious? Of course. Good moussaka. Let's see how it goes. Let's get cooking. No, on that note, let's get cooking. I messed that up. Oh, the grated cheese. On that note, yikes. So I guess on that, okay. This is a bigger than average glash dish. Okay. There's like an airplane flying and I don't know if it's too loud on the camera, so I'm just gonna give it a minute. We're gonna let this one go. To deseed them, you're just gonna, to deseed them, you're gonna cut, to deseed. To deseed. Sounds like a different, like it just sounds weird. And spread a tablespoon. Okay, fast. And spread a tablespoon. Why can't I say tablespoon today? Tablespoon. That went in the oven at 350 degrees. Okay. Moussaka. So I say moussaka because in my Big Fat Greek Wedding, the main character brings moussaka to school and they're like, ew, what is that? And she's like, it's moussaka. And they're like, moussaka? It's just an ongoing joke. Great movie, go watch it. It's the best. It'll make you want to eat moussaka.